Hello and welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the best medieval games of 2017 and 18. And this is a list of some games that you may not have heard of before, and it will also have a number of games that you have heard of before, especially if you're a fan of this particular genre. Now, I'm also going to begin with the games that I feel like you guys probably haven't heard of before, or you may be very surprised that they're actually on this list before we go into the more developed and guaranteed games that you've probably heard of, such as Kingdom Come Deliverance, later on in the video. So without further ado, let's begin. The first game on this list is definitely one that you guys probably haven't heard of, and it's called Warhorse. Now, Warhorse is an upcoming 3D war simulation MMO by Chinese developer NetEase. It's set in ancient China, and the game emulates historical siege warfare and tactics, pitting groups of players against each other in large Chinese landscapes, fettered with ancient structures and siege vehicles. Warhorse's gameplay combines Dynasty Warriors-inspired combat with RTS-inspired goals. So this kind of has a very big feel of Tiger Knight Empire War if you've ever played that game, but it also has elements of For Honor mixed in with it, which the combination of the two could really work. And from what I've seen from the gameplay trailers, it looks pretty intense, especially in some of the larger siege battles, and I think you can agree with me on that. So Warhorse emphasizes that it has Dynasty Warriors inspired combat, which I'm not really sure what that is, but you can take control of strong commanders and plow through hordes of enemies with chained attacks, much like For Honor with those little grunt units that you can just absolutely mash. There are destructible buildings where you can destroy gates with siege machines and enter the enemy stronghold, or blow up the siege vehicles to prevent your enemies from entering your castle. There's large-scale player versus player, where you can join a team of players to fight against the enemy army for a massive-scale competitive experience. There's also an ancient Chinese setting, where you can visit the era of the classical novel Romance of the Three Kingdoms and take part in historical wars. So it definitely has that historical inspiration. It looks like it has a lot of cool features, including some things to do with formations, and the combat doesn't even look that bad. It looks very similar to For Honor, maybe not as quite advanced as For Honor, but we'll have to find out when it is released. This is definitely a game you should keep your eye out for, and I am really looking forward to its release. We don't actually know when it's going to be released, and that's the case with most of these upcoming medieval games, but we can't really help that, so we're going to move on to the next game. The next game on this list is called Ancestors. Now, Ancestors is a squad-based real-time strategy with a strong focus on tactics. Inspired by medieval European history, it brings to life 4 different nations and their conflicts, usually solved by a war. Now, I just want to say that introducing scene to their cinematic trailer is so good. The graphics look absolutely amazing. It looks really intense, and just what I want from a fighting or medieval game. Now, some of the screenshots do showcase some really large-scale battles, which we'll move on to a little bit later on, and they just look amazing. So this game is where you can take command of your army as you storm through medieval Europe in an extensive series of campaigns, choosing one of the 4 available nations: Vikings, Anglo-Saxons, German, or Slavic. You will be tasked with more than just conquering, raiding, and pillaging enemy camps, villages, and towns. Only by utilizing the full range of available tactical options, taking strategic advantage of the environment, and managing your temporary bases and settlements will you emerge victorious. Ancestors is a historically accurate real-time strategy game influenced by historical events in the Middle Ages. The game combines resource management and base building with large-scale squad-based battles across vast battlefields, all rendered in great detail thanks to the Unreal 4 engine. So far, this game looks really promising. It just needs to have some really good tactical AI, so we don't see AI doing really stupid stuff. And I also like to see in real-time strategies, especially in medieval melee ones, where actually the 2 units in a battle are trying to fight each other like you see in Total War. As long as it kind of has that element of realism, I'm going to be quite happy. Saying that, apparently on your keyboard you can hit a button that will take you into the cinematic view of this trailer. Or I'm not really sure if it will be up to the standard of this trailer, but if it is, we can definitely see that the AI versus AI fighting is actually really good. There are 4 playable nations in an extensive single-player campaign inspired by historical events. There's advanced tactical options combining the use of terrain, experience, and morale. There's cinematic battle cameras. There's outstanding visual fidelity powered by the Unreal Engine. There's intense multiplayer battles. There's streamlined resources and management of village reconstructions. And you can have precise controls with native gamepad support, which is pretty cool, and this game just looks amazing. Moving on to the next game, we have Veil of Crows, and this is a game that I have been following for about 3 weeks now. I have made a couple of videos on it, so if you want a really detailed look at it, make sure to go ahead and check those out. So Veil of Crows is a sandbox style real-time strategy game set in a chaotic medieval world. From violent and overly bloody battles to completely destructible castles, RPG style hero development, and meaningful interactions with other factions. You can trade, bribe, extort, and destroy your way to world domination. The world of Veil of Crows remains persistent after you die, so your impact will have a lasting effect on the world even after you fail or start over. Can you conquer the world and take the throne? So Veil of Crows is basically a mixture between Mount & Blade and Total War. The sandbox map looks very like Mount & Blade, however it is persistent, so if you die then everything remains the same. It never resets even if you like make a new character, which I think is so cool, so you can kind of see this world progressing over time. Also, the battles they're not that polished, but they are very fun, especially the field battles. I have actually had the privilege to play this. The developer did give me a key, and it is very fun. The sieges still need a lot of work, but I haven't played it in around a week, and I know the developer is very good at updating. He's done updates, well, fairly large updates every 2 days from what I've seen. The game also offers epic battles where you can command large armies in huge bloody conflicts. You can besiege mighty castles with siege engines, take advantage of destructible buildings and walls. Every type of unit has strengths and weaknesses, so individual stats, etc. Obviously, there's going to be cavalry more effective against archers, the usual kind of RTS stuff that you're used to. You can take heed of the current weather, geography, and battle conditions, which is very cool. So there are 4 main game modes. There's Prologue, which is which is a tutorial game where you will have some help along the way. It will explain out what the game's about, really. There's Veil of Crows, which is the main game where you start as a hero with a small group of units. There's Sandbox mode, which is more a casual game mode where you can select your starting conditions. And then there's Custom Battle, where you can choose the scene, choose the units, choose the type of battle, etc. Overall, this game is really fun, and I'll link it down in the description. I definitely recommend you guys checking it out. Now, for the more controversial part of this video, we have Of Kings and Men. Now, I know so many of you are probably like, what the hell, Of Kings and Men was awful, it wasn't what we expected it to be, etc. But you have to be reminded that it is in early access, and I still feel like the developers can pull through and make a game that can really work. We've seen that it has an absolutely superb combat system that matches Mount & Blade's quality. In my opinion, a lot of people just can't get used to it, especially if they have a Mount & Blade background. But for me, I think it was really good. Now, they can take that combat system and the look that the game has. It does look really nice. And also just how everything works in terms of the character models, the damage modifiers, the experience, all that kind of stuff. You can take that and put that into the Epic, and you have a game that will be absolutely phenomenal. For the people that are watching this and have no idea what the Epic is, it's basically a huge persistent world which this game was originally intended for. However, the developers never got round to it. It never really worked. The strategic map was also involved in it, and it looked really cool, and it is definitely the next step for this game if it wants to get absolutely anywhere. And I hope a dev or someone watches this, because they need to prioritize that, otherwise it's not going to get any better. Next up on the list, we have a game that absolutely blew up in terms of Kickstarter. Oh my god, so many people donated. I think it was $230,000, and they had to stop the Kickstarter because too many people were donating. It was just insane. Now, obviously, this game is Mordhau, and it's probably going to be one of the best medieval melee games in the upcoming years, because there is nothing quite matching this. It's got a better melee system than Chivalry, in my opinion, and it's going to be up there with Mount & Blade Bannerlord, hopefully, which we'll move on to a little bit later on. Now, Mordhau is a multiplayer medieval fighting game where fights range from duels all the way to large open battles of up to 64 players. With horses, siege engines, and castles to be stormed, it features a skill-based, free-flowing combat system that is easy to learn but hard to master. Some of the prime features it presents are real-time collision detections, believable fights, gore, and more gore. I mean, you can chop people's heads off and then chop stuff off when they're on the ground. I'm pretty sure you can cut off anything you like. There's dedicated servers, so there's no P2P like For Honor had. I basically couldn't play For Honor because the P2P was so bad, as my internet's pretty bad anyway. I just got disconnected after 5 minutes in every match. So there's siege engines. There's also map interactivity where you can bring gates crashing down on enemies, chuck boulders off a castle wall, and pick up and drop equipment as you go. Interaction is a big part of the game, and it spices up every match. There's also fighting on horseback. There's varied battles and environments. There's ranged combat, and you can create your own warrior. And there's a whole lot of customization as well, including weapon customization, which is absolutely amazing in any medieval themed game. Now we have the one, the only Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord, the most anticipated medieval game that I can think of in the whole genre, and it looks amazing. Now that's the thing, it looks amazing. We've been waiting for this game for 5 years, and we still haven't got any form of playable game. Now, we're not going to go into why we haven't seen the game, etc., because you've probably heard it all before. So we're going to talk about some of the features of Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord for the people that may not know what it is. So you can construct, position, and fire huge ranges of heavy machinery in sieges that will test your wits and skill like never before. Experience epic sprawling combat across ramparts and rubble as you desperately hold on to your castle or seek to seize one from the enemy. There's historically authentic defensive structures that offer the ultimate medieval warfare experience as you batter a rival's gate with your ram or burn his siege tower to ashes. There's increased diplomacy options where there's meaningful consequences that impact the world. You can strike historic peace deals that win land for your kingdom or free you to take on a new foe. An all-new barter system gives players flexibility in cementing deals from marriage offers to treason packs, offering all the options available to NPCs. There's a sandbox economy where you can see the availability of goods ebb and flow in the simulated feudal economy, where the price of everything from incense to warhorses fluctuates with supply and demand. Invest in farms and workshops or turn anarchy to your advantage. There's crafting, with crafting your own weapons, name it, and carry it with you on the field of battle. A deep physics-based system gives each weapon you create a unique set of attributes, strengths, and weaknesses. There's a huge array of modding tools where the engine and the tools used to develop Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord are going to be made available to the community so that modders can reinterpret Calradia or create their own worlds like we have so many times in Mount & Blade Warband, and that's what made Mount & Blade Warband the game it is today. The engine is an all-new tailor-made game engine developed by in-house to fulfill the unique needs of the series, and it offers the perfect balance of performance and graphical fidelity because we want to have the high amount of AI units on the field but without having too much lag. Obviously, it hasn't incorporated the absolutely impeccable melee system that we've seen in Warband and that we've seen presented in many of the gameplay trailers for Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. This is my most anticipated game of hopefully 2017 and 18, and I'm sure many of the people watching this video will agree with me. I cannot wait one more minute for this game. List is of course Kingdom Come Deliverance, and what an amazing game this is. Probably again with Bannerlord one of the most anticipated medieval games of upcoming years, and I cannot wait for its release. Now I have made a couple of other videos on this, so you can go ahead and check them out for a really detailed overview. One of them is gameplay, so go ahead and check those out. So Kingdom Come Deliverance is a story-driven open world RPG that immerses you in epic adventure in the Holy Roman Empire. Bohemia, located in the heart of Europe, the region is rich in culture, silver, and sprawling castles. The death of its beloved ruler Charles IV has plunged into the kingdom into dark times. War, corruption, and discord are tearing this jewel of the Holy Roman Empire apart. Now, there's a big story surrounding this whole game, which I'm not going to read out right now, but it is very good, and it gives you kind of that immersion that you want from a medieval game. The combat as well is exceptional. I'm really bad at it, as a lot of people commented in my last video. A lot of people said that I was the worst that they've ever seen, but I am working on it, and hopefully by the time I get around to the actual game's release, or maybe I make another video on the beta, I'll be a lot better. Some of the things that this game offers are obviously some really good melee systems. It also has a huge, I think it's 16 by 16 kilometer open world, or is it a 4 by 4 kilometer? I'm not entirely sure on that one, but I'm sure it will be bigger in the end. Some of the props and some of the actual scenes in this game are amazing, especially of the church, which if you buy the game, you can go ahead and check out once it's fully released. I cannot wait to finally go inside that church and take a look. There's also some really nice quest lines in there. There's going to be a lot of gameplay, and you're going to be addicted to this game for a very long time because it looks like it's never going to stop. So that will wrap it up for the best upcoming medieval games of 2017 and 18. This is an update to my previous video list, and I hope you have enjoyed. Now, if you feel like another game should have made it onto this list, make sure to leave it down below. Make sure it's a medieval game and kind of historical, not fantasy, because otherwise it makes your point a little bit invalid, because obviously I leave the fantasy element out of this video. I'll probably make a separate video on fantasy medieval games. Now, make sure to hit that like button if you did enjoy it, as well as clicking subscribe if you're new. Make sure to go down in the comment section and talk about whatever you want to talk about. If you want to contact me, that's the best way to do it. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next battle.